Imagine waking up tomorrow to find that the invisible safety nets that have kept the world safe for decades are just gone. The old treaties? Suspended. The established rules of war? Dead. We are currently standing at the very edge of the most unstable geopolitical moment since the Cold War. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving deep into the terrifying new numbers, the shifting doctrines, and the absolute superweapons that are driving a completely modern arms race.
And to really wrap our heads around the scale of this threat, we have to start with one staggering number: 88%. Right this very second, the United States and Russia hold 88% of the entire world's nuclear warheads. We're talking about thousands of weapons on each side. It's an arsenal literally capable of ending human civilization multiple times over.
Which brings us to part 1, the doomsday balance.
Now, you probably know that for decades, global peace relied on one terrifyingly simple rule: mutually assured destruction. You strike us, we strike you, and absolutely nobody survives. To guarantee this grim promise, both nations rely on a nuclear triad. Basically, they spread their weapons across the land, the sea, and the air. Looking at the breakdown, the U.S. holds a distinct advantage in stealth bombers. Russia, on the other hand, they are pouring massive amounts of money into next-generation mobile missiles and these ultra-quiet submarines. It's an incredibly high-stakes, deadly game of chess.
But if we look just beneath that strategic surface, things get even more interesting. There's this huge disparity when it comes to tactical nuclear weapons. These are the smaller bombs designed to wipe out a specific battlefield rather than an entire city. Here, Russia actually holds a massive numerical advantage. They have up to 2,000 of these battlefield-ready weapons compared to roughly 200 U.S. warheads currently stationed forward in Europe.
This massive, tense standoff has somehow managed to keep the peace for 70 years. But it begs a chilling question. What happens when that fragile, delicate balance is completely shattered by a brand new class of weapons? Weapons that literally break all the old rules.
Let's move to part 2, the hypersonic revolution.
Because, folks, we have officially entered an era where military decision time has shrunk to almost zero. Think about missiles like Russia's air-launched Kinzhal or the naval Zircon. These things fly at speeds up to Mach 10. That is 10 times the speed of sound. They move so unbelievably fast, and they can change their trajectory so violently in midair that they basically render standard defenses completely blind. A defender doesn't have minutes to react anymore. They literally have seconds.
And the crazy part? The technology is evolving so rapidly. Take a look at the Oreshnik missile. This introduces a truly terrifying capability to intermediate ranges known as MIRVs. Essentially, a single missile launches up into the sky, and then it breaks apart into multiple, completely separate warheads. Each individual warhead actively dodges and evades interceptors while screaming back down to Earth at Mach 10. It's a system designed to just entirely overwhelm defenses through sheer math.
Now, these hypersonic gliders are terrifying enough on their own. But what if missiles aren't the only unstoppable threat out there lurking in the dark?
This brings us to part 3, doomsday machines and superweapons.
Unveiled back in 2018, this completely new breed of technology was designed with one very specific purpose in mind: to render Western missile defenses absolutely useless. Take the RS-28 Sarmat, for example. It is a 208-ton absolute beast of a missile. It can deliver a swarm of nuclear warheads across an 18,000-kilometer range. It can even fly the long way around the Earth, literally going over the South Pole, just to sneak past established radar networks.
But somehow, even more chilling than that is the Poseidon, because it isn't a missile at all. It's a fully autonomous, nuclear-powered underwater drone. It's designed to cross entire oceans in total eerie silence, and then detonate right beneath the waves. The goal? Triggering a massive radioactive tsunami against coastal cities. And you can't exactly shoot it down with air defenses, right? Because it literally never leaves the water.
So, with superweapons navigating deep under the oceans and flying over the poles at these blinding speeds, military planners around the globe are backed into a really terrifying corner. I mean, how on earth do you defend against the undefendable?
Let's look at part 4, the unbreakable shield.
Well, global powers aren't just sitting still waiting to find out. They're frantically fighting back by building massive, multi-layered defensive shields. And the conflict in Ukraine actually provided a pretty huge revelation on this front. It turns out Western systems, like the American Patriot PAC-3, can actually intercept hypersonic missiles. By linking all these radars and interceptors together into a network, defenders are proving that, hey, maybe these superweapons aren't totally invincible after all.
Meanwhile, Russia is rapidly evolving its own massive defensive net. They've upgraded to the S-500 Promethe, and get this system operates at the very edge of space. It's reportedly capable of destroying incoming ICBMs, hypersonic missiles, and can even shoot down low-orbit satellites directly out of the sky.
So, we have faster weapons and we have smarter shields. But here's the catch. As defenses start catching up to these super weapons, both sides paradoxically start to feel increasingly vulnerable. And in geopolitics, paranoia is a very, very dangerous thing. If both sides are on a hair trigger, what sparks the fatal final move?
Which leads us directly into Part 5, the escalation trap.
Because at the end of the day, weapons don't start wars, people do. And right now, world leaders are operating in a thick fog of terrifyingly vague rules. The US, for instance, relies heavily on a doctrine of calculated ambiguity. That basically means they reserve the right to use nuclear weapons first, but they aren't telling anyone exactly when or why they would do it. On the flip side, Russia's doctrine explicitly allows for nuclear strikes if a conventional military defeat ever threatens the very existence of their state.
And because of this massive, looming gray area, Western intelligence is really concerned that Moscow might adopt a strategy known as escalate to de-escalate. The idea is, if they are losing a traditional, conventional war, they might just use one small tactical nuke to shock the enemy and force an immediate surrender. Because of this exact fear, Washington views almost any aggressive military posturing as a potential fast track to a nuclear strike.
Now add in revolutionary conventional weapons like heavily automated tanks and drone swarms, and the lines blur even further. Think about it. If a nation suddenly feels completely outmatched by high-tech conventional weapons, the quickest way to level that playing field is reaching for their nuclear arsenal. Suddenly, any minor disadvantage on the battlefield could unexpectedly trigger the unthinkable.
We are in a situation where deep mistrust and paranoia are driving massive defense spending. Hypersonic speeds have literally erased the time needed to just double-check a radar warning. With armies expanding rapidly on all sides, the ultimate question we have to ask is, are we just sleepwalking past the point of no return?
Which brings us to our final section, Part 6, A World on Edge.
You know, throughout the Cold War, despite all the underlying terror, there were treaties, there were hotlines, and mutual inspections to verify exactly what the enemy was doing. But today, those diplomatic safety nets have been completely torn away. We're operating in a total strategic vacuum. With the old treaty suspended, hypersonic missiles striking the doomsday clock to mere seconds, and vital communication lines going completely dead, we are left with one final haunting thought. When there is no trust, no verification, and absolutely no rules left to break, what actually happens when deterrence finally fails?